When's the last time you received a raise? Do you feel like you deserve a raise but just aren't sure how to go about asking for one? By the end of this video, you'll have the exact steps you need to ask for that raise that you deserve. If we haven't met before, I'm Michelle, founder of the Nanny Solution by Nannies on Call. Each week I bring you new videos to educate and inspire you to get better jobs, make more money, and become leaders in the industry. Let's get right to it. Have you read or heard of the book I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi? I hope I'm saying that right. He has some great tips in that book on how to ask for a raise. Unfortunately, most of them are related to corporate jobs and a manager and multi-level corporations, but I still think that the advice is great. We've just had to edit it a little bit and adapt it to working in a household where the parents are your only employers. There's no HR department, there's no manager, it's just the boss. So I've taken inspiration from his book. I'll link it below so you can check it out because he's got some other great advice about making more money. So let's get right into the tips. Let's start with a few things you should avoid when asking for a raise. We'll just get those out of the way first. First of all, personal reasons. This is not a reason to ask for a raise. If you want to be successful in asking for a raise, you need to leave the fact that you feel burnt out, underpaid, or you have expenses piling up. You have to leave that out of the equation. Things like your car breaking down, your rent going up, or having student loan debts are not a reason to ask for a raise, and we'll get into the details later about why. Make sure you're asking for a raise at a good time and not a bad time. Some examples of this might be if your boss, one of your parents that you work for just got laid off, if it's Christmas time and families are stressed, overworked, and they have lots of expenses themselves, if one of their grandparents or family members just died, you want to time asking for a raise properly so you have the most success at getting it. Make sure you're not just asking for a raise because you've been there for a year. That is not enough of a reason to ask for a raise. Yes, you might be entitled to a cost of living increase, but going into it, and again, we're going to go into it in a moment, you want to make sure that you're presenting yourself in the best light, and just being there and staying for a year isn't enough. Finally, now is not the time to sell yourself short. Now is the time to brag about your accomplishments, explain what you've done, and explain how you've helped the family. Make sure you are confident and don't sell yourself short when you're asking for a raise. Okay, let's get into the steps you can take to ask for a raise right away. Pro tip number 1. Getting a raise is not about you. It's about demonstrating your value to your employer. That's a quote by Ramit, and I just think it's fantastic. In a lot of nannies' cases, they stay late. They take on extra duties like cleaning up the kitchen on a Monday when they come in and it's an absolute disaster, cleaning up the children's rooms, taking out the garbage. I mean, the list is just endless. Picking up groceries. I could go on and on and on about all the things that nannies do that aren't in their original contract. And you're not compensated for these things. And often families don't realize how many extra tasks you've taken on throughout the year and how many extra things were not in your contract. And that's where you have to make it clear to the family exactly what you've done. Step number 1, be proactive and plan ahead. When thinking about a raise in the near future, you want to set some groundwork. Start by asking to have a meeting with the family, the parents, for 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on what you feel you need. This is where you're going to lay out what you've been doing for them and how you've gone above and beyond so that you can show your value. So you want to be prepared going into this meeting, and you want to think to yourself, what have I done that's above and beyond my contract? Maybe you've started taking on some of the meal prep. Maybe you've been cleaning the kitchen, which is not on your responsibilities. Maybe you organize the kids' closets, their toys. Again, the list goes on of things that you didn't know you were going to do when you took this job on that you have taken over. You're going to write all those things out, and then you're going to, when you sit down in the meeting, explain to the family what you've been helping with that goes above and beyond the expectations that they first hired you for, so that you can show them your value. This is really important. You want to show them your value. You also want to cover things that are in your contract, things like teaching the child their alphabet or their phonics or to read or manners or whatever it is that child has now moved ahead in their skills. You want to showcase those things to the family. Okay, so you're setting them up with all the things and all your value that you bring to their family. Then you're going to say to them, I really enjoy working for your family. If you do, of course, you don't want to say this if you don't, but I really enjoy working for your family and I'd like to stay here long term. I'd like to look at getting a raise in the next 3-6 months. So you're setting them up, okay? You're not asking for the raise today because you want to give them time to think about it and you want to show your value. So you're setting it up. So I'd like to talk about getting a raise in the next 3 to 6 months. Other than the things I'm already doing, is there any way that I can help you? What can I do to make your life easier? This is your way to give them the opportunity to give you feedback on what they feel you're doing well or what they feel you need work on. So you need to take that feedback and utilize it, okay? Then you're going to write down all the things that they suggested. So let's just say mom says, you know what, I'm super stressed out and that one time you meal prep for me, it was so helpful. Would you mind doing that? If that's a task you don't mind taking on, that's when you say, sure, I'd be happy to meal prep. Or if it's a boundary you have, this is where you're setting the boundaries. You know what? I don't really have time when I'm taking care of the kids all day. So you want to give the family the opportunity to tell you what they feel would be valuable, and then you want to offer some things that maybe you've seen. I noticed that the children's closets are full of clothes they've outgrown. When I have some downtime, how do you feel about me cleaning that out? I'll put them in a pile for you to review, and then we can take them to be sold, the Salvation Army, however you feel you want to get rid of the clothes. So you bring some ideas, the family will give you some ideas, and then you're going to end the meeting by saying, that's great, I'm happy to help out with those things, I'm glad we're on the same page. I'm going to keep you in the loop of these things that I'm doing that we've discussed, and in the next 3-6 months, whatever you decide, I'd like to come back and talk about a raise. So you've put it in there. They already know that you're going to come back for a raise, so you're not springing it on them last minute. Okay, that's step one, and it's a big one. I know that's the biggest part, is setting the scene, showing your value, and understanding what they need and what they could use more help with that you're not yet doing, that you're willing to do. Okay, that's step one. Step two is communicate. Okay, you're going to continually communicate what you're doing. This is where you have to be confident in what you're doing and confident this is what they're looking for. So if you talked about cleaning out the closet and getting rid of the children's clothes, you're going to do that and then you're going to let them know. I cleaned out the children's closet and here's the bag and let me know what the next steps are, or please go through it and then I'll make sure to get the clothes out of your home. Whatever it is that you've agreed to. Every time you do something, you're going to want to highlight it so they're very clear about the thing you're doing. If all of a sudden the child could read or they know their alphabet or whatever, you're going to express that and communicate to the parents that every time something happens. And I know that it sounds like maybe it's going to be nitpicking and it's going to get annoying, but the reality is so many nannies just go through day to day, do their job, and don't provide any feedback to the family. So you want to constantly provide feedback about what you're doing, how you're meeting your goals, and how you're providing value to the family. Okay, that's step number 2. Step number 3 is know your worth. So I'll put the video up there about knowing your worth and figuring out what your rate should be. So if you're undervalued and underpaid, you're going to be looking for a higher raise. If you're making good money already, you might be looking for a smaller raise, but you need to know where you stand. If you're making $18 an hour and the average in your area is $25 after you research what your skills, background, experience, and education are, then you're going to know coming in that you want to ask for $25 an hour, or maybe you want to go to $24. So you need to know your worth, what your value is in your market based on your experience and education. And again, have a look at the video because that will provide you with what you need to look for to determine that. That's step number 3. Step number 4 is asking for the raise. So we're finally here. So you've set it up by telling them several months ago that you were interested in a raise. You asked them what you could do to help their family. You outlined what you did with their family. Then you continually communicated with the family about what you were doing and what they had asked you to do, and that you were getting those things done. And then you're determining your value. So this is something you do on your own, but you go into the meeting knowing what you want to ask for. So now you're at the raise stage and you're going to ask them for a raise. You're going to go in knowing what you want and you're going to ask for that. Make sure you have the tasks that you've done organized and written out, the tasks that you agreed to do, the tasks that you've done, the things that you've accomplished for their family, and the value you've brought to their family. That's what you want to establish. And if you've done anything outside of that, you want to say, I've accomplished teaching Anna her ABCs, teaching her to read, helping her with her potty training, cleaning out her closet, cleaning up the Monday morning mess, and I've also organized the playroom, cleaned out the fridge. Again, there's so many things that I hear from so many different nannies that they do. And some of these things they do because they love it. If you love being organized and keeping everything organized and that's something you're interested in, you may have organized their whole home. These things are valuable even though it's not specifically what they hired you for. You're gonna go in, you're gonna tell them what you've done for them, tell them how you've gone above and beyond, review all the things that they asked you to do that you did do, and then you're going to ask for the wage you're looking for. It's that simple. But these things take time and you have to build them up and you have to communicate and you have to show your value because often nanny's value isn't super clear. Parents don't see all the little things you're doing every day. It just means the house is flowing and life is easy for them. But they don't know what they have until it's gone. The most important part about this relationship is communication. Communicating your value to the family and being clear on what it is you do to help them out every day that goes above and beyond what you were originally hired for. That's the key. I know some of you are going to ask me, well, what kind of percentage raise should I be looking for? It's really difficult for me to say because if you're being paid well or if you're undervalued where you are, it's going to make a huge change. But generally the standard for raises is 2 to 5% a year. So that's, if you're looking for raise in that range, that seems reasonable. I've seen on a lot of message boards nannies saying they got 10% or more raises. Those are huge raises. So I wouldn't expect that much, but if you get it, fantastic. I'd love to hear about it, but don't expect it. 2 to 5% is pretty reasonable, and you should be extremely happy if you get a few extra $1,000 a year. It makes a huge difference. Finally, what happens if you do all these things and they still don't want to give you a raise or they turn you down? This is where you have to make a decision. Are you making good money? Are you happy where you are? Is it close to your house? Are the kids fantastic? There's a lot of things that go into your job, and it's not just about money, obviously. You have a love of children. You love working with the family. There's a lot of aspects that go into this. So if you ask for the raise and you don't get it, this is where you have to decide. You can either stay with the family at the current rate, as they've outlined, or you can start looking for new work. The last thing you can do is say to the family, okay, I understand now's not a good time for a raise. Can you tell me when you think I will be able to get a raise here? Is it in 6 months, a year? So you have an outline. So you can keep, if you choose to stay, you can keep communicating and keep focusing on the things to make that job fantastic. And then you can go back to them in 6 months or a year, like they said, and ask them for a raise. I have one last bonus tip for you that I just love and can't believe I didn't know for the last 20 years. I have learned it recently, but it's so helpful. If you're looking at job postings or you're talking to your family and you know you make $25 an hour, do you know how to quickly calculate what your annual gross salary is without doing all the math? If you are paid 40 hours a week and you're a $25 an hour nanny, you double it. So 25 is 50. And you add 3 zeros. So $25 an hour is $50,000 a year. Works with it works with $30 an hour. 30 times 2 is 60, add 3 zeros. A $30 an hour nanny is $60,000 a year. So you can do it the other way as well. You take off the 3 zeros, you split it in half, and you can find out what it is hourly. It's not exact, but that's for a full-time 40-hour-a-week job. I just love that bonus tip. I can't get enough of it. Hopefully that video helped. You can check out more of our videos here, and otherwise, I will see you next Saturday. Have a great week.